Nothing's changed. Why is everybody freaking out? Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter, Clancy's Corner _ Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, free wherever you get your podcast, and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Everybody needs to relax. Just chill. Woosah. If you haven't seen Woosah, everybody needs a little woosah in their life right now. Nothing's changed. I'll discuss it all. Is Monti Ossenfort making mistakes? Froze the Smoke, you're getting your segment or two. I haven't really decided yet. Monti Ossenfort is getting vilified and questioned, etc. And I will do a little introspection into me being very one-sided on him so far and see if there are some things that need to improve very quickly if the Cardinals want to have any sort of relevancy in 2024. And then what questions have been answered. I've discussed a lot this offseason and last offseason plus season. A lot of question marks, not bad ones, just who's going to step up, who's going to be ready right away, especially for the younger players, and will this team be able to move forward sustainably if there are injuries throughout the season? We've already gotten our taste of that in the preseason. B.J. Ojulari going down, and then Darius Robinson set to miss some time. Zay Jones will be out for 5 weeks as well. All of it. We're going to talk about it all today. So first off, Locked On Cardinals, this episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. So, Cardinals lose by a million, 38-12. Zach Wilson. Like, the funny part about the preseason is you can tell guys who have played in NFL games in key skill positions, especially on offense. Zach Wilson's played a handful of NFL games. He's playing against the threes. Of course he's going to torch them. The Cardinals didn't play anybody. For the majority of the preseason, the Cardinals played nobody. So when I say that nothing's changed, people are freaking out about the backups. People are freaking out about guys who may not make the practice squad. I'm recording this and posting this early on Monday. I don't want to wait for cuts. I'll talk about it tomorrow. I don't think there's going to be a lot of surprises. And when you look at a situation where Kyzir White doesn't play, James Conner doesn't play, Marvin Harrison Jr. plays 3 snaps, one route run in the first preseason game. Michael Wilson doesn't play. Greg Dortch doesn't play. Trey McBride doesn't play. Paris Johnson Jr. doesn't play. Jonah Williams doesn't play. Will Hernandez doesn't play. Budda Baker, Jalen Thompson don't play. Kyzir White, Mack Wilson don't play. Are you getting the theme here? People are freaking out about depth. And I understand that, it's not ideal when your top pass rusher, B.J. Ojulari, goes down. It's not ideal when Darius Robinson gets carted off, even though it was a calf and not what was feared to be something that could potentially be season-ending. Not ideal. And we haven't seen the Arizona Cardinals yet. We haven't seen anything. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, sure. Young players in the cornerback room, young players in the pass rush, they're going to have integral roles right away. We knew that already. We knew the pass rush and the cornerback room wasn't going to be great. Well, why haven't they added pieces? You'll get that next segment. Now, with cut down day, Jonathan Gannon spoke to the media earlier today. They're going to look at everything. There's going to be a boatload of players, hundreds, I think 1,000 players who will be cut today. And that's terrible. Like, take a disclaimer here. This is the perfect day to do this. Like, remember, when you're talking about saying you hate somebody or accusing somebody, these are human beings, man. They're not just avatars who wear helmets. That's how I discuss them with football specifically, but they're human beings. This is a tough day. And on the positive side, this is a day where the Cardinals can bolster their roster from players who, maybe the team they were on was too juiced at one position and they were the odd man out. Or maybe they didn't have a great camp, but they've shown track records being a veteran. Whatever it is, there's myriad reasons why. There's still plenty of time, even though it's less than 2 weeks away from week one. There's still time. But the freak out from playoff or bust, which I told people, relax. I know it's exciting. I know they drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. I know Monti Ossenfort on paper nailed the draft. Relax. This was a 4-win team the last 2 seasons. They have a murderer's row schedule, and their defense is going to be bad. So while you want fans every year, while you want your favorite team to make the playoffs every year, having those expectations can overshadow progress. And that's why shoot for the moon. Hope they go 17-0. Absolutely. It's better for me too. I mean, it's good for business also. But having the tempered expectation of if they double their win total from last year, they still ain't going to make the playoffs. So that means they're going to have 150% more wins than last season. Could it happen? Sure. Like, there are things that must happen. And I've talked about X factors. I've talked about rookies. Like, if Max Melton becomes a CB1 right away, and if Sean Murphy-Bunting has a career renaissance here, and the cornerback room's there, and if Xavier Thomas and Cameron Thomas can replicate what they've been doing all preseason in the regular season, we're having a different conversation. But none of those things have been seen on an NFL field yet. So you've got to take the more humble approach towards it, like, this defense is not going to be great. So all of the hubbub, oh, injury, oh, they have to add players, oh, this is freak out moment. Why? Nothing's changed. Nothing has changed. Monti Ossenfort will probably add pieces before the season starts. Well, why wait so long? You got to see what you got before you know what you got to go get. The offense should be fine. Third-string offensive linemen are third-string offensive linemen for a reason. So when you're watching 2s and 3s and 4s getting lit up by Zach Wilson in the final preseason game, when Trey Benson didn't even play. Having the freak out is like, it's like watching the preview of a movie that's terrible. You're like, oh, that movie sucks. So you have no idea. We have no more information now than we did in the preseason week 1, except for guys who've played. So it's like, okay, so yeah, oh, well, man, this offensive line looks bad. None of the starters have played. This is all depth stuff. There hasn't been, as I call it, the oh no moment where you see a second round rookie like, oh man, he's not ready yet. Max Wilson's been okay. He didn't play in the first preseason game. He hasn't played a lot. Like, he's not playing 80% of the snaps. There hasn't been an oh no. There's been, oh, sweet. That could be a bonus. Xavier Thomas, absolute bonus. 5th round pick out of Clemson was only dropped to the 5th round because he had injuries in college. Nothing's changed. Woosah. We're going to find out a lot more in the next week or so with the bye week before the season starts. And listen, as I pivot into is Monty making mistakes by sitting on his hands, I struggle with what I'm about to say because, it seems so obvious to me. You can't. It's like starting a franchise in NCAA football with a team that doesn't exist yet. That's what Monti Ossenfort had to do. So the constant comparison to same old Cardinals, no. This is what the Cardinals should have done years ago. But the last regime didn't see it and couldn't see the forest through the trees. The hard reset. The Houston Astros from 2013, whatever it was, when they had an $11 salary cap. Building things back up from rubble takes more than a year. And I can't understand why comparing the losing nature of this organization forever to what's happening right now, why that's so commonplace. We haven't seen one player of consequence for the Arizona Cardinals play in the preseason that is going to be tasked with running the ship, running the offense, running defense. Nobody's played. So chill out. I kind of went falsetto like Kermit the Frog there. That was weird. With that, though, is Monti Ossenfort making some mistakes? Is he sitting on his hands too much? Throw the smoke. You're up. Next. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by our friends at LinkedIn. When you're hiring for small businesses, for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for your role, and that's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find professionals, the right ones for your team, faster and for free. It's not just a job board. LinkedIn Jobs helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. And in a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. So hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. So, it hasn't been perfect, but if the Cardinals went 3-0, are people saying playoff or bust? It doesn't make any sense. The preseason is a farce at this point, unless you are a fringe guy to make the roster, which is wildly important and rarely has a direct correlative between preseason and regular season success. Quarterback competitions, sure. QB2 competition, sure. That was done within the first quarter of the first half of the first game for the Cardinals. It's Clayton Tune. Should be Ryan Tannehill, it's Clayton Tune. So when you look at the big picture, nothing's changed. Now, has Monti Ossenfort made some mistakes? Okay. Is he sitting on his hands too much? Is he not spending enough? It's a tricky question. And I'm not saying that as an out right away. That'd be bold. Oh, why are you doing a segment if you give yourself an out right away? Slow and steady, in my opinion, is the way to go. Okay. The complicated part is the defense is severely lacking star power. And I think that's obvious. With that, though, my big knock on the vehement disapproval of some fans regarding Monti Ossenfort and what he's done this offseason and last is wasn't a whole lot of talent in the free agent market this year. It's not like there were 7 pass rushers and the Cardinals were like, nope, we're good. Nope, we're good. No, it wasn't that. So just because it was compounded last year, Monti Ossenfort took a nap during free agency, and this year was kind of the same. Correlating star power to a good offseason instead of serviceable veterans to a good offseason couldn't be farther. The bridge couldn't be farther between the two of them, because you look at what the Cardinals did at talent-wise and the positions they did. Interior defensive line was the biggest weak spot among many last year. Bilal Nichols, Justin Jones, drafted Darius Robinson immediately. Sean Murphy-Bunting came over, low impact, had a down year with Tennessee, played 1 year with the team, especially as a corner and stuff. He played pretty well when he was in Tampa Bay, when he was, rookie and second-year guy, third-year guy. Offensive line needs a boost. Jonah Williams wanted to play, wanted to block for Kyler Murray. Check the box. Zay Jones, veteran wide receiver that I was screaming at the mountaintops for. They wouldn't sign him, obviously missing 5 games. And then this is how you methodically build a roster. And usually, when there's like, oh, you got to hurry this process up, baby. Like, what are we doing here? Usually that is correlated with a young quarterback on a rookie deal or a quarterback that's up for a contract soon. Neither of those are the Cardinals. Kyler Murray can play another 10 years. The path is so much longer than it used to be. So the rush tactic of, hey, Kyler Murray's contract's up next year. You got to see what you got. Now, while that last part, you got to see what you got, you're going to see that from Kyler Murray regardless this year. If Kyler Murray and then Mike Sando just came out with his tiered system, Kyler Murray is tier 3, and it's fine. If you don't know of or haven't checked out, Mike Sando, he was all over. He's with the Athletic now. He's one of the greatest football minds we've ever seen. Had him on the podcast. He has the tier system with quarterbacks, and he gives reasons why. And because he talks to, I think, 50 executives and coaches around the league, all anonymous, obviously, for the article. And Kyler Murray's there. That makes sense. Kyler Murray hasn't played top-tier football since the beginning of 2022. You can give him last year, with Philly, and he had some flashes with Houston and again, Chicago and Atlanta, but, it was a throwaway season. Kyler Murray's not going anywhere. And if the Cardinals regress this year offensively, and Kyler Murray regresses this year offensively, we are going to be having very, very different conversations. And I'm not against that if that happens. I just don't see with how strong the foundation is for this team. And it is. Even if you think that the defense needs help, which it does, and that Kyler Murray still needs to prove himself, which he does, and the depth on this team isn't as great as it should be across all positions, no team has that. With all of that, the strength from GM to coaching staff is something that is unquantifiable. So let's look at it this way. So I'll answer the question directly. Has Monti Ossenfort made mistakes by not signing more players than he should? Probably. But I'd much rather see not forcing the issue and rebuilding an entire culture than going out and just splash sign, and hope. There's a phrase, when you get into sales, like I had a buddy who runs this company, and he hired me. I worked in radio. I'm like, I left, and I continue to do the podcast, and I have another job where I work in sales now. And I was like, I don't have any experience. He goes, perfect. You don't have any bad habits then. The Arizona Cardinals organization was only bad habits. And Monti Ossenfort had to come in and unwind, and Jonathan Gannon had to unwind and reteach everything on how to have a strong foundation and a team and a family and be ready to play on game day. They had to unlearn everything. And it takes time. So yes, the product you put on the field is ultimately the most important thing, because that's what you're graded on as a GM. That's what wins you or loses you games. And that's what gets people promoted, contract extended, or fired. True. And if you're built on a cracked foundation, you have much less of a chance to succeed with more talent than you do with less talent. Let me say that again, because I don't know if those words all made sense in the row that I said them. I'd rather have the Cardinals with the talent level they have now and the foundation they have in place for the future with leadership than splurging on talent this year and having the last regime or having some form or fashion that's not as ironclad as it is now. The Arizona Cardinals need to make the rest of the NFL know, it's predominantly free agents. This is a different thing here. And this is how they do it. And slow and steady, while not fun and while not directly affecting in a positive manner, especially on the defensive side of the ball and the talent for 2024. This is building up the layers of trust, not only within the organization, but for outside players who are looking at what the Cardinals are doing. Think of it this way. The Arizona Cardinals were looked at not at all by national media 2 years ago. Even in 2021, I had every crossover, which I'll start doing crossover Thursdays week 1 with the opposing team's host. We asked every single one of them as the Cardinals started 4-0, 5-0, 6-0. Do you think the Cardinals are legit? Not one of them said yes. National media, same thing. And it doesn't matter what national media says, but it is a nice litmus test, nice barometer check for smart people who see a lot of football, never believed in the Cardinals when they were in 2021. And then, I told you week 1 that nothing changed from 2020 to 2021. But now, while they're not adding a lot of talent on the defensive side of the ball, the national media sees the Arizona Cardinals big picture. Very impressed with Monti Ossenfort. It doesn't count for a lot, but it doesn't not count for anything. People a lot smarter than me. So while he could be doing more, probably going through the motions and bringing in veterans to level up key positions, when those, it's a tricky game. Having said all of that, I'm assuming they'll add some talent on the defense before week 1. I can't see them rolling this defense out. But this was the plan. Draft, bring in key veterans to cocoon around younger players, rookies. B.J. Ojulari going down was tough. B.J. Ojulari also isn't a top 5 pass rusher in the league yet, okay? So while that's a harsh thing to kind of bring up there, this pass rush was going to be bad with or without B.J. Ojulari. So bringing in Yannick Ngakoue and dropping all these guys like, oh, this is going to change everything. It wouldn't have moved the needle enough to warrant giving them a boatload of cheese. It just wouldn't have. That doesn't mean that they're not always trying to improve the roster, which is a huge misconception. Which questions have been answered, though? What do we know more now than we did when the preseason started? There's a couple things, and they could be massively impactful for the season. That's next. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little bit different. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. If you've seen a glimpse of NFL Sunday Ticket, you know that this is a smoking deal. Then, with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. It's a smoking deal. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. All right. So, at Clancy's Corner _ on Twitter, let's discuss this. Like I point Jason out because, he's been an everydayer for a long time. And we go back and forth about the Monti Ossenfort thing a lot because it's like, it's still TBD. So I just don't see rushing the process as something that's going to validate. Okay, well, at least he's done this. So now it's like Cardinals are so far removed from any sort of cohesion, balance of talent. Only 40% of the roster in 2022 was on the roster in 2023. That is bonkers. So I think giving more credit for being the janitor that Monti Ossenfort was, for cleaning up all the messes of the last regime, seeing the big picture in this instance is bigger. And listen, I'm the first one to rip apart this organization because I think they deserve it in a lot of respects still. But I'm seeing it's different, like drinking the sauce or whatever, feeling the sauce. I don't know. That sounds weird. Anyways, where I'm not like ignorant to exactly what's happening. And I also see a bigger picture, a bigger vision with an actual path to perpetual relevancy that we haven't seen. So when we see what we see in 2024, then the majority of these question marks will be answered one way or the other. So what questions have been answered that we've seen so far this offseason? One, Xavier Thomas was a steal, it seems, in the 5th round. It seems like the Cardinals hit on one. We haven't seen no Zaven Collins, no Isaiah Simmons. I know that they weren't traditional edges. They both played off ball. They both played a new position. I get all of that in the preseason. For both Isaiah Simmons and Zaven Collins, we saw the, oh no, they're not ready moments immediately. And that translated into the regular season. Xavier Thomas has a quick first step. I know he was going against 2s and 3s, but seeing that proof of concept for a young pass rusher in a room that needs talent everywhere, that was a beautiful thing to see. And then you've got to throw Cam Thomas on, because maybe Cam Thomas is emerging as a guy that the Cardinals can trust, a couple years into the league. Maybe because there's no talent in the pass rush room, Cam Thomas will finally be able to get reps and finally be able to get some momentum, stay on the field, play 60 or 70% of the snaps, unless they just use him situationally. Like maybe they've got their guy and Steve Keim has one last little gift for the Cardinals. We know that, okay? That we saw flashes from both of them. Another thing that we know, I think Darren Hall should make the 53-man roster. The dude led the team in tackles, okay? And I know that it's the preseason, and I know that they're not playing against the ones the majority of the time, and I know that he plays the tail end of games when the majority of the NFL talent is out there. Having said that, look at what the Cardinals rolled out on defense last year, and look at how much Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rallis got out of them. Sure, they got blown out a couple times by teams that were much like San Francisco. Like, that's just not – the defense showed up to play. And you need gamers. And Darren Hall's a gamer. He's like a Greg Dortch. Give him a shot. Like, I would be shocked. I would be absolutely shocked if he was part of the cut casualties today. I've been wrong, a couple times before. But, I mean, that's a dude who could be a diamond in the rough for this team. What else do we know? Dadrian Taylor-Demerson is going to be ready day one. He's impressed the most out of any of the rookies, even over Trey Benson, in my opinion. Trey Benson is going to have the perfect ecosystem to be able to produce and grow quickly as a rookie. Very run-friendly team. He's backing up James Conner. That's easy. Playing defense is so much harder, especially the safety position that is part of a defense with a lack of pass rush and a lack of real bona fide talent in the cornerback room. Welcome to Budda Baker's career. Welcome to Jalen Thompson's career, Dadrian Taylor-Demerson. Welcome. But he showed right away he's ready to rock come Buffalo. How many snaps he's going to get when Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson are out there, we don't know. But Jonathan Gannon even said this morning to them, he goes, we're going to find the 53 best guys. And that kind of lends to the thought that they're going to have some weird formations on defense. They're going to have the best players on the field. They're going to find a way to piecemeal that together to give the Cardinals defense the best chance to be opportunistic, to get 3 and outs, and to leverage the Cardinals offense, which is where the majority of the talent is. Dadrian Taylor-Demerson has been fantastic. And then, unfortunately, I mean, Desmond Ridder looks terrible. He got through concussion protocol, which is good. Obviously, you don't want anybody to get hurt. Everything between the ears is of the utmost importance as well. But he didn't look very good. And they're riding with Clayton Tune, I guess. I'm still in the camp that they need to sign a veteran quarterback. The only one that I would say, either you're riding with Clayton Tune or you're going and getting somebody that's much better of a quarterback than him, and Ryan Tannehill be the guy. And it's not ideal. It's not ideal. But you have to carry 2 quarterbacks who can start in the NFL, or you're behind the curve. So we'll see what happens with cutdown day. If there's a backup quarterback, I don't know if Jarrett Stidham's going to get cut. I mean, Jarrett Stidham, while, again, not great, I would probably take him over Clayton Tune. Bo Nix got the starting job in Denver. Zach Wilson's looked good. Jarrett Stidham's going to be the 3rd guy. Maybe they'll cut him. Who knows? But that question has been answered. Is there a chance that Desmond Ridder can take over the QB2 role? No. And then finally, The running back room is the strongest that we've seen in a long time. Michael Carter didn't play yesterday. Jonathan Gannon said today, paraphrasing, that they didn't need to see anything else. So it looks like it's going to be James Conner, Trey Benson, Michael Carter. I don't know if Amari DeMarcado is going to make the roster. I don't know how they keep 4 running backs. And then Tony Jones played all game pretty much all game yesterday. I don't know how they're going to keep all 4. Like Amari DeMarcado is like this fun, like Eno Benjamin was, where it's like, ooh, that's fun for like 10 minutes, and it's like, oh yeah, that's right, he's not a RB1. We didn't really learn. Oh, and I have to mention Xavier Weaver. This is my fault. I am wholeheartedly apologetic about this. I constantly forget to mention him. Played pretty well yesterday. Returned kicks, punts, and had 2 catches for, I think, 55 yards. Dude looks good. And for those that don't know Xavier Weaver's name right off the top of your head, he was wide receiver 2 in Colorado last year with Shedeur Sanders. Took over the wide receiver 1 role when Travis Hunter got hurt, and he flashed. When undrafted, the Cardinals brought him in. I think either he'll be a practice squad guy, or I mean they could run that many wide receivers. I guess he looks good. Even if the thing is, they brought DJ Dallas in to be, the special teams guy. So I don't know if Xavier Weaver showed enough, but the dude deserves his flowers for coming in, being the 9th wide receiver on the damn depth chart, coming in and balling out when he was given the opportunity. It was really awesome to see. And then one more, Blake Gillikin averaged 58 yards a punt yesterday. I was wrong. When Thomas Morstead hit the free agent market, I'm like, Cardinals have to go get him. I was wrong. They've got their punter. And that is massive. That, seriously, it's so – field position game is going to be so important in 2024. The Cardinals need to leverage as much as they possibly can in an effort to make the defense's job as easy as possible. It's going to be an uphill battle the entirety of the season for the defense. If the offense can stay on the field, again, the 4th down theory is going to be incredible. I can't wait to nerd out on that, to see what they do with that. But it's going to be a lot of that. It's going to be field position and time of possession for the Cardinals. Blake Gillikin looks fantastic so far. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Remember, without you, there is no me. I'll talk to you tomorrow.